Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited today to be here.
Could you talk a bit about why you decided to do this work of introducing EFT to schools and offer that to schools?
Yes, I would love to. Once I found EFT, I knew I had to become a practitioner to share it. I come from a lovely small town, but 20 years ago, when I was in high school, and even still talking about self help and therapy, that's not very common. So when I found EFT as an adult, wow. Imagine if I would have had this as a young person growing up, if I would have had this tool. And so I just put it out there for myself. And I remember sitting in my first training and knowing that I wanted to work with young people and that be part of my scope. I had no idea how it was going to manifest, but I knew that I wanted to bring EFT to students, young people, and then it transitioned into teachers.
In terms of the how it transitioned, could you speak a bit about that?
Once I became certified, every time I would go home to see my family and old friends, just came up in conversation. There was a natural curiosity about what I was doing because people could see that my overall well being had improved. And they were wondering, what is this EFT all about? And so the small school where I grew up, it's one hallway, kindergarten on one side, all the way to high school on the other. There's about 130 to 150 kids total, depending on the year. And so, with it being that size, I'm still really connected with the faculty and community there. The theater teacher reached out to me about doing a group EFT session for her theater kids. They had a one act play competition coming up, and their first official performance was going to be for the town while I happened to be visiting. And so she asked if I would do a tap the day of their town performance because to that day, they had still not had a successful run through. They were missing lines, they were missing their marks. The kids were embarrassed and they weren't really performing very well. So she thought it couldn't hurt. And based on what she had heard about EFT, invited me to come up to talk to the group.
So, what came out of this invitation?
It was amazing. I showed up the day of their first performance to the gymnasium with about 25 high school students running around. They were kind of out of control. Their nerves were high, and so they were acting out. They were very unfocused. They had just had a run through that morning, and I don't think it went real well. Most of them did not know what we were going to be doing. The teacher just said, "All right, everybody sit," and was very firm. And I asked them all to spread out on the gymnasium floor where they had plenty of room between them so that they could talk out loud to themselves without the self consciousness or fear of their friends hearing what they might say out loud. Then I went into just a short, maybe 15-minute explanation of what EFT is. Very basic level, just so they could understand what we were going to be doing, kind of the science behind it, just brief overview, how it helps with nerves and it helps build confidence and it can help with memory, and how especially that they could do it to themselves anytime after, they get a little experience, which is very important to me. So I told them that they did not have to participate, but they did at least have to sit there. And the more they participated, that the better benefits that they would see. Through the tap, I'd say in the beginning, only about 50% of them were participating or vocal about it. And I had them call out their subjective units of distress, which is also SUD or SUD score. It's a scale of 0 to 10 on how strong their emotions are about whatever they're feeling. And everyone in the room threw out eights and tens. Some kid threw out a 100. And the teacher participated as well because she was nervous for them. And I encouraged her to, and she wanted to participate. She threw out a 7. So she was having her own experience in the back of the room. I asked them then to call out some feelings, just popcorn emotions that they were feeling. And I had good participation there. So fear, nervousness, anxiety. One of them said, I'm irritated. One of them yelled out, I'm hungry. Whatever they were feeling, we just had it just get out there. In group taps, I leave the setup statement open. So I leave a blank. I'll start with, even though I feel I accept myself right now. And so I let them call that out to me.
Oh, I love that.
It's fun. And that way everyone can participate together, but still have their own experience. It's really actually very powerful. And you do kind of pick up what your peers are feeling. And it actually makes you feel more open to share whenever you hear others start saying, oh, they're nervous too, or and you don't feel so alone. So it's fun. So then we move to a part of me wants to judge myself for feeling this way. I should be calm. I should be prepared. But even though I feel like this, I forgive myself for this judgment or for trying to ignore this. So we did some tapping rounds on that. I then moved to having them respond to the question. I said, now take a minute or two while we tap. And I was still tapping and moving through the points. I asked them to follow me about their negative self-talk. So what are they telling themselves about the performance coming up? In the beginning, I kind of give some examples because when you're new to tapping, sometimes your brain fog just comes in and you don't know what you're feeling. So I threw out words like, I'm not good enough, not smart enough. I should have worked harder learning my lines. I'm going to embarrass myself. I'm going to let my classmates down. My role isn't important enough. My role is too important. There's too much pressure. And then I got quiet and let them just talk to themselves for about a minute, encouraging them to really think about why they were nervous. So then I had them think of a time when they felt this way before. So even though I failed before, it's okay. I made it through. Even though I feel this way, I'm still capable. We did a couple rounds there. After that, I think we moved on to worst case scenarios. And the beautiful thing about worst case scenarios is you always make it out alive. So you can help steer them to understand that worst case, they're going to come through this. So one more note here on group sessions is you might think you have to hear every person's response to really engage. But really, all you have to do is imagine yourself in the group's shoes. So if you're tapping with a theater class, what would that feel like if you're going to go on stage? Or if you're tapping with a team before a sporting event, what would that race or that game feel like, that anticipation? So your intuition kicks in and words really come to you that apply to the group. But back to the experience with this theater group, after about 25 minutes of tapping, maybe a little less, we closed and I was facing a completely new group of students. By the end, closer to 80% had participated fully. And even for those who never spoke or never tapped, never said a word, I could see them off gassing, which is moving energy. So yawning, there were a few tears or other signs that something processed just through mirroring and watching their peers. So their SUDS ratings at the end were all 0s to 4s. They were calm, they were more excited, and they had about 2 hours before their actual performance, before they went on stage. They all stood up quietly and started getting their costumes ready, getting the set ready, and just doing their job. And the teacher looked over and kind of whispered, because she didn't, it was amazing. And so then, let's see, after that, I had the privilege of getting to watch them that evening, and it was amazing, huge success. They didn't miss one line, they didn't miss one mark. They stayed under their competition time frame, which it wasn't, it was just for the town, but it was a good practice. So the next day, the teacher told me, thank you, thank you, thank you. These kids are different kids today, because before then their competition was the following day. And she said that none of them had been excited about it. They all just were embarrassed that they were going to be laughed off stage. And the next day they were talking about how excited they were going to be to go to competition because they realized that they were capable and they were good. And so they got really excited. The morning of competition, I got a call from the teacher and she said, I know this is unexpected, but the kids are going to go on stage in about an hour. And they asked if I would call you and we could FaceTime a session. And I was like, yes, of course. They wanted to do another tap before their official competition. And so we did. And I think she set her phone up on a pizza box in the green room so I could see all 25 kids. And we just went for it. We only had about 15 minutes. I had them call out their scores and what they were feeling. They were nervous. So it was, even though I might mess up, even though I don't want to let my classmates down, they were all up in the 8s to 10 areas, but it was a power tap. It was less than 15 minutes. But all of the students participated, 100% of them. I could see them all tapping, which was an improvement. And it showed that there was something behind it for them, which was great.
And also it shows that patience pays off, because sometimes with these interventions, when we're impatient and we follow rules of everyone has to participate all at once, it's actually counterproductive. Less haste, more speed. When you let people come in when they're ready to do a self-regulating skill like tapping, you actually make progress quicker, because it's not being forced. You're not creating a power dynamic where there's a struggle and it's all about power and control. It's when they are ready, they join in. And that's what this example, your experience, illustrates so beautifully. So thanks for sharing that.
Oh, you're so welcome. It was moving and it was inspiring to me. You can't put too much stock into everybody buying into it, but it was a big success. And, long story short, they advanced and they won the competition and they got to go do it again. So right after that, right away, we went ahead and scheduled a third tap before the next competition, which was about a week later. On that third tap, their concerns were totally different. So no longer were they saying they were nervous about their lines. Now they were saying, I'm going to be really disappointed if we don't advance. Their whole mood had shifted. Their confidence was there now, and they were working on different issues. Their scores were all 10s. They just really wanted to advance, and they were really focused on how upset they would be if they didn't. And I'm glad we tapped, because they did not advance. But the success is that they received high praise from the judges. The competition was just really high. Some of the students did get individual awards like Best Actor, Best Actress, Supporting Actress, things like that. So those were all positives. But most importantly, they moved through their disappointment quickly. I talked to the teacher later and she said that there was an initial upset, but then they all transitioned to just being proud of each other, saying how great they did to each other and their classmates. And then they already started talking about the play next year. What are we going to do next year? And they were already looking for that next opportunity. So I call it a grand success.
Yeah, and seeing it, as enjoying the process rather than being so and focused that that's the only thing that they're, focusing on. I think that's an important message as well for developing social emotional learning, which is what this tool does. It's focusing on the process of learning about these emotions, learning self-regulation, come together as a group and seeing that pro-social behavior increasing through this process of tapping. What a beautiful experience.
It was really fun. The teacher has already invited me to come back this year for her new class. So we're actually going to tap a few more times and build up to it. And so that's exciting. So I can't wait to see how this expands.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
I wanted to add that doing group taps, especially for high schoolers, is a way in. Competition and performance happens in every high school. So whether it is a theater competition or an academic competition or a sporting event, pressure is high for these kids. But they often don't want to ask for help, and they don't normally volunteer for something silly like tapping on their bodies in front of their classmates. So doing it in a group is helpful, because I've found that even the cool kids, the tough kids, the outsiders, by the end of the tap, they've all done something together and they are a little more connected and bonded, and they all usually participate a little more towards the end. And so also then after one, they have the tools now. I always explain after a group tap that they don't need me anymore, that I'm here if they want to dive into deeper issues and, really, or if they have something really hard that they're facing, but now they have the power, they have the knowledge. I tell them how to do one simple setup phrase. That's all they need to know. Repeat it with a few simple points. And I give them simple steps of naming the issue. And I tell them, You can ask to go to the bathroom and tap by yourself to calm down, or you can tap your fingers under your desk and breathe to refocus before you take a test. My final note, release any attachment that you have to making immediate converts to this practice. Remember your days as a student, watching other students, your experiences, and your thoughts and feelings, and you'll know what to say. And then just read the room and do what you know how to do, and that's tap.
Thanks so much, Sarah, for this exciting and inspiring experience here that we can learn from. Looking forward to applying the tips in my own work. So thank you very much as well for that.
Oh, you're so welcome. I had a great time, and I'm just excited for everyone here and to learn from the other speakers as well. So thank you for putting this together.